This is Leafs Morning Take with Nick, Alberga, and Jay Rosehill.
Now we've got a fight started here right off the bat with Rosehill.
30 minutes of live, non-stop Leafs talk starts now.
What's going on? How are we feeling on this Thursday? Feeling so much better about life. It's the Thursday edition of Leafs Morning Take. Remember to subscribe, smash the like button, leave us a review. Don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com for all things Toronto Maple Leafs. Rosie, how horned up were you when you saw Mark Giordano, 39 years of age, flying in to save one Austin Matthews last night?
I loved it. He came out of nowhere. It was a couple shifts before in front of the net. There was some jostling going on too, and Gio just grabbed a guy like FU'd him, and I was just like, man, I love Gio, and I like tweeted something out, and then 2 shifts later, he just comes on the back of the frame and just nails Konechny. That was awesome. I loved it, man. Matthews is taking a lot of heat for not shedding him, which kind of surprises me, man. But overall, pretty wicked game start to finish, I thought.
Yeah, it's a different age, though. I must bring that up because, again, who is going to fight? And on behalf of Matthews' honor, it brought PTSD up from like Jason Spezza back in the day in the Stanley Cup playoffs where he's the guy to step in. And now you got Mark Giordano stepping in. And I get it from Travis Konechny's perspective. Game was way over. Might as well rile them up a bit, no?
Yeah, I don't think he liked that little between the leggers chance that he tried on there, and damn near scored on it too. And Konechny, you got Tortorella as your coach. You're kind of pissed off. You want to set the tone for next time and show your identity and all that stuff. So you go after Matthews of all people. Guys are going to be coming in there quick, but Austin's taking heat. But look at that. There's a cross check. There's a whack. There's another whack. And then when they went back at each other again, Matthews was the one to give him a hard shove right under the chin too. So I'm fine with it, man. We do not need that guy fighting with a bad wrist. And imagine he does fight, breaks his wrist or sprains it or something. He's out for 5 weeks. The whole frickin' town would be going bananas going, don't we have guys to do that? And why would he of all people do that? And why is he in that position? And blah, blah, blah. I think he handled it just fine. And everyone else came in there like they should have. You like it or you want him to fight there? What do you think there? You think he needs to fight there?
Not at all. I was going to just say that it reminds me of that time Connor McDavid dropped the gloves in the OHL for Erie and broke his hand, and he was out for an extensive period of time. There's no need for that. There's other people to fight that battle. I want Austin Matthews to score goals. I want him to be on my power play, and I want him to play 20-plus minutes a night. I don't think there's any reason at all, regardless of the heat he could be taking in this scenario, to drop the mitts, especially with Travis Konechny. I would just laugh the way Austin Matthews did. A big 5-2 win for the Maple Leafs. Should mention as well in about 10 minutes or so, Rosie's former teammate in Philadelphia, current Flyers analyst for NBC Sports Philadelphia, Scott Hartnell, will drop by. That's going to be something else, isn't it?
Yeah, Hartsy's going to have lots to say. I imagine that guy's never short on entertainment, so it's nice to get him on. I'm sure the listeners will appreciate whatever that guy's got to say this morning.
Speaking of which, you can get interactive with us on social media and certainly here on YouTube. Your thoughts, your comments, concerns on questions, leave them down below and we'll get to them a bit later on in the show. But for now, let's get over the boards. Was that John Tavares' best game as a Toronto Maple Leaf? Granted, it was game 11 in November following a dreadful 5-game road trip, but 3 goals and assists, his 11th career Hattie. He was outstanding last night, Rosie.
Wasn't he, man? Like, I don't know. I haven't seen every single game that he's played as a Leaf, but it would be hard to find one where it was better, where you come up with 4 points, a hat trick on a pretty crucial game. Like, obviously it wasn't a must win, but it's just kind of as close as you can get. It's one of those mid-season must wins where you're like, guys, if we don't figure it out here, we're in for a long road and there's going to be no more question marks. There's going to be some decisions made, so huge game for him to do that. What I liked the most was after he gets a penalty and they score on it, kind of that one that went in on Sammy, which is probably the only like actually weak goal that I think Samsonov has let in this year. And then all of a sudden it's 3-2. And what's everyone doing? My ass was puckering up a little bit thinking of the Anaheim game and thinking of that same feeling where everyone's looking at each other going, oh God, are we going to give this one away? And then your captain gets out of the box, goes down, absolutely diddles that D man there and gets one of the nicer goals of the year to kind of get that breathing room back. To me, that showed that resilience that this team's been lacking, where you close a door and put a game away that all of a sudden looking like it might be close again. I thought that was like just a huge statement piece by him, aside from his 3 goals. That was my favorite part of the game. How do you like his performance last night?
It was impressive. And I thought in general, the big boys came to play. And that always is, or, more times than not, is the recipe for success for this team. The big 5, if you will, combined for 11 points in the night. Austin Matthews, here he comes. 3 goals in the last 4 games. He could have easily had 3 or 4 in this game. I think it's only an amount of time before this guy starts to pop off. You mentioned the in-between legs play in the third period. I don't care if Connecting was happy or not about that. Matthews was starting to feel it, especially in the third period. And that was the best thing for me to see last night, aside from winning the game, of course, was that they were starting to cook, they being Matthews and Marner, big time in the third period here, Rosie.
Yeah, that was nice. It's been kind of a frustrating start. I think we've touched on that, and it's not the first time he's kind of got out of the gates a little bit slow. But like you said, you can see him there, really starting to be in the right places. All of a sudden, he starts to feel it, and he's got a little bit of swagger going. I think that was evident with that between the legs shot that damn near went in. But he could have had 3 himself last night. There was a couple of chances where, just a little bobble of the puck or whatnot, and it's in the back of the net too. So yeah, it's nice to see him going. It's nice to see the guys firing. But for me now, moving forward, consistency is the deal with me. Can you find that type of stuff every night? Are we going to do this head scratching bullshit one night and then, having a performance like last night the next? And you can't keep going through that and expect to be a really good team. So I love the game last night, but I'm looking for consistency. I want them to be able to access that kind of feeling every single night,
Another thing I know you love last night, the bottom 6 fix, as you see topic du jour on the screen right there. Zach Aston Reese actually did something. A goal. Dennis Malgin, I thought, was really, really buzzing last night. So was David Kampf. And that's a welcome sight. Anytime you can help with the big boys the way they did last night, that's great to see, isn't it?
Yeah, big time. I mean, every team that wins a Stanley Cup has got a thick bottom 6 and good depth on that bottom end of those bottom 6 guys. And you like to see that. You want them clicking. And, Holmberg gets in there for his first NHL game. I love seeing that. I love it when a guy has a first NHL goal, first NHL game. It's always nice to see that kind of thing. Czar there gets something done finally. And it was, to be honest with you, when they scored, I was like, who is that? Who is that? And then you don't see him doing a whole hell of a lot. And then I was like, oh, that's Reese, right on. So it's good to see him get on the board. And I think Kampf has been solid on that fourth line, man. He buzzes, he's chipping in offensively. He doesn't have big issues as far as turnovers or mistakes. It's not ending up in the back of his net too often. I really like him to kind of hold down that bottom 6 and kind of be the core of it. He's been pretty solid. And like you said, Malgin's just been good, man. He can play on that fourth line. He was buzzing. He can play up on a higher line with some more skilled guys. He's kind of a well-rounded player. And like we said, coming out of training camp, he kind of made a bit of an impression there along with Robertson. So it's good to see that he can actually produce on that fourth line, because a lot of times guys like that get put on the fourth line and they don't know what the hell to do. They just want to play with skilled players and make plays. And if that role's filled, they go down to the fourth line. They're just standing there twiddling their thumbs because they don't know how to play that energy grind type of a game where you're just moving your feet all the time. And I thought Malgin handled it pretty good last night for a guy that's probably not used to being on a fourth line,
You're right. They were playing with an identity last night, and you bringing up that buzzword for a long, long period of time. So it was great to see a 5-2 win here for the Maple Leafs. As we transition to today's guest, again, as referenced, a former teammate of Rosie's, former Philadelphia Flyers, longstanding Flyer, Columbus Blue Jackets, etc. The guy was an absolute menace in the National Hockey League. And now with NBC Sports Philadelphia, it's Scott Hartnell. Hartsey, what's going on? I guess you're a Phillies fan, eh?
Oh, yeah, I'm going tonight, baby. I'm fired up, I tell you.
Hopefully they'll give you a hit tonight. What was going on?
Oh, my God. That was a little bit painful. You go hitting 5 homers the night before to not get a hit. So I would say that the bats are due tonight, Dozer. I'm looking for a big win here for the Phillies.
Yeah, Houston's a very, very difficult team, as we know, but the World Series has been a lot of fun. And I guess Bryce Harper's showing why he's probably worth every penny. Speaking of which, Austin Matthews, 3 in the last 4. Just your general thoughts on the game last night for the Flyers and the Leafs.
Yeah, well, a big win, much needed win for the Maple Leafs, just to calm down all the media, calm down all the fans, and now you guys can start planning the parade again that they beat the Philadelphia Flyers. But no, I think Philly, on the back end of a back-to-back, they got close there in that third period. But man, like you guys were talking about, that goal by JT, dancing Sanheim, and then taking the puck to the net, a power move, finishing it off. That was pretty unreal.
Well, Hartsey, that was a story for me, is who he danced. Like, that's Travis Sanheim, who's an upper echelon defenseman, I think, in this league, fresh off a new contract. And Tavares just destroyed him. I mean, that was vintage Tavares.
Yeah, it was vintage is a good word. I don't think JT has lost. He was sniping, and then a bad break for Sandstrom, losing his steal. There's a goaltender slid right out of the net, and he had a wide open cage on that power play. That was a neat little play too, passing it to JT on his backhand, and yeah, they were feeling it last night for sure.
What's it been like so far covering Torts? I'm sure you saw the comments pregame, already jousting with the Toronto media. That's what he does best. But what's it been like so far with Tortsy?
It's great. I played with him, played for him in Columbus. There, where you stand. The guys know where they stand. They're, probably will be the most in shape team. By far, the way that he runs practices and that kind of stuff. But you got to play a certain way. You got to block shots. You got to put your body on the line. And with all the guys out, Cam Atkinson, Sean Couturier, Ellis, JVR, they're buying in. They're getting some good wins against some good teams, and it's an exciting team to watch the last couple of years. And covering them, it's just been brutal. Power plays bad, penalty kills bad. No one hits, no one does anything in the game. But now they got Delorier, they got Konechny, who's kind of a pain in the top players. Asked last night, so it was good to have these kind of character guys, and of course bringing out the best in them.
And Rosie, you're a big nickname guy. What was your nickname for Hartsey as you take the interview here?
Hartsey, fartsy. I don't know. I wonder what his gas situation is still like. He's never seen a guy more famous for the greasiest shit farts I've ever smelled before. But
I still have the power, Dozer. I still have the power.
I'm sure the wife loves it, buddy. I'm glad you're giving it to someone else these days. In serious though, Hartsey, going back to Johnny T, like for a guy that, takes some heat for some reason for being slow and being old and whatnot. And then there's a guy like you who played as long as you did. You were playing when you were getting older, and you're playing as the league was getting faster and faster. I think Johnny T's just unbelievable leadership. I think that if this team can actually win something, that he'll go down as one of the big time captains for that organization. But tell us what it's like for a guy like him, who's just oozing hockey IQ and ability, and then trying to transform his game and keep it up with this new fast type of hockey that's played in the NHL.
Yeah, it's funny. You do get a little slower, obviously, as time moves on. And my agent, when I was playing in Columbus, he asked me, he's like, all these guys are faster. Some of them had better shots than you. All this kind of stuff. Like, why have I played so long? He asked me that. We were actually going to play golf, and I thought about it for a second. I was like, well, you think the game's faster than what half the league thinks the game at. I know if he's going to reverse it or go hard up the wall, right? So you get your stick in that lane to create a turnover and at least to scoring chances. And I think that's where, I had, I guess, a hockey IQ better than probably, a lot of the players. And JT, obviously, he has the skill. He's got the shot. Sure, he might look a little slow, but still he gets from point A to point B. He knows where that puck's going to be. He knows where his line mates are going to be as well, which is probably the most important thing. And he still gets it done. So, all the people that say, oh, yeah, you're 34 years old, 36 years old, you can't do it anymore. Ralski and he's playing with great players. He's playing on the power play. And no one's talking about how slow he is. He's probably slower than, 75% of the league, but he's still putting a puck in the back of the net. So I just tell those people to, shut the blank up,
You can swear on this. Don't worry, Artsy. We're pros on this show. But it's funny because, even with the Tavares conversation, I mentioned a couple of weeks back, I covered him with the London Knights when he had a cup of tea there after, being with Oshawa. And that was always the story with him, is the foot speed was never a thing, even dating back to when he dominated junior hockey. And the way he's evolved and adapted his game, it really has been marvelous to see. But again, the foot speed hasn't been a thing, just continues to do his thing, 14 points in 11 games so far. I wanted to ask you as well, I mean, the Leafs aren't known for their toughness. Would you have had a field day against this team? I loved watching you play, man. You always seem to grind everybody's gears out there.
Yeah, it was always fun to play a soft team that where you knew you weren't going to get any pushback, right? Where you could stand in front of the net and know that no one's going to touch you, or a little whack on the goalie, and you just laugh in the defenseman's face because they know they don't want a piece, right? So Dozer was the same player as me, right? You look for that hit first to create energy and momentum for your team, and chip in as well too. So it's I would love to see a guy like a Delorier, that brings the energy, protect the big boys. Obviously Wayne Simmons could do it, and I feel bad for him right now, but you definitely need some meat, I think, in your lineup to take that next step too.
Yeah, I was going to piggyback off that. Like, go ahead, Rosie.
Go ahead.
No, I
was just going to say, speaking of the tough stuff, we have kind of an interactive show here with being live on YouTube and whatnot. And a longtime listener by the name of Luke Shen, he still goes by the Human Eraser tag. He says that in his first year in the NHL, 18 years old, he thinks it might be your only win as far as a fight in the NHL goes. You're 30 years old going after the 18-year-old teenager. How did that come about, and what was going on? And he wants to know what would happen if you guys went today.
Oh, it's a no-brainer. What would happen? He'd be on the ice, picking up his chicklets. No, the story is, I think I was slumping at the time, so I needed a tap in win fight. So I picked on the old rookie, and everyone was so mad at me after that fight. I'm like, I was 18 once. I was fighting Brian Marchment. I was fighting Christian Huselius from Dallas, the big mutant fenceman. I called him Magnus for Magnuson, the strongest man in the world, and he absolutely just destroyed me. So I was 18 years old once, and I was looking to fight some veterans too, to make a name for myself. And sorry, Luke, you didn't come up on top on that one.
Well, you didn't pick a soft player. He's a big lefty Saskatchewan boy, so I can't blame you for that one, man.
Hey, Hartsey, what was the deal with you and Dion Phaneuf back in the day? I remember watching Leafs Flyers or Leafs whatever, and it was always you and Phaneuf jousting and going at it. You just didn't like the guy, or what was the deal?
No, he played the game honest, right? He played the game hard. He's always looking step up for a big hit. Probably just I don't know, one of those kind of annoying defensemen that's effective, right? You say a guy's annoying, it means he's doing his job right. And you're one of those guys where if you were in a slump, if you needed to get the game going, change momentum in another way, he was always a guy to have an honest fight with you. And a couple of times he just absolutely buried me. Went to the front of the net, scored a goal, and dropped the mitts, and him and I went at it. So that was kind of one of my favorite shifts. Absolutely buried. I got go to the net, shoot one home, and then drop the mitts and went after him. So that's a highlight I'll remember.
Can't forget Hartnell down as well as we wrap. I did some digging. That's what we do, preparation on this show as well. You just got your U.S. citizenship. Congratulations, Hartsey.
I did. Yeah, it was pretty wild day, actually. 100 other citizens to be. We did a big ceremony and took your oath, and people from all sorts of crazy countries all over the world. It was like their Stanley Cup. I'm fortunate enough to live here, and had a green card for a long time, and these people, it was legit like the Stanley Cup, and they're American citizens, right? So that was pretty neat, and so it really hasn't changed my life. I already got jury duty notice in the mail a week after I got my citizenship. I'm like, oh man, they didn't wait long on that one.
Oh man, that's the worst feeling when you're summoned from jury duty, because you literally can't get out of it. It happened to me a couple years ago here in Toronto, and I just lost my what, because I'm like, come on, I don't want to be anywhere around that right now. But Hartsey, you're the absolute best, man. You're killing it as a media member, so keep it up, and we'll have you on again down the road. Okay, appreciate it.
Yeah, when the Flyers mop up Toronto and in Philly, we'll have a little post game talk about it.
Sounds good, buddy. Take care.
See you,
All right.
Hartsey.
See you, Dozer. See you next. Bye.
See what? He's the absolute best, man. Like I love the way he played the game first and foremost. In fact, I always wished he was a Toronto Maple Leaf, but you just knew every night, and you know this having played with him, he was just going to bring it. Like he's going to drag his team in the fight, whether you liked it or not.
Yeah, I always liked how, his personality could shine out when he played, and it made him better. He's one of those guys that could go out there and play with that edge. And then, depending on how things were going, he could taunt their bench. He could taunt their fans or their crowd. He could say something dumb to the camera. Like, he's just totally himself. And I always wished I could be myself and be that loose out there, but I didn't really have that luxury, being a staple in the league the way he did. But, he's a guy. I remember the first day I got to Philadelphia, man, he invited me over. The guys were having a couple beers at his house, and I went over there. I was a little excited, I think, to be there, and kind of overserved myself a little bit. And then all of a sudden we're in his back alley, like burning the tire off his scooter that he'd cruise all around Cherry Hill in New Jersey where he lived. And then I think I remember a cop kind of came near, and I got freaked out. So I just bolted on the thing. And the cop comes up in New Hearts, and he's like, "Hey, who was that guy that just took off?" And I was gone for like a half an hour hiding, thinking we were in big trouble. But that was my intro to Heartsy's, being Heartsy's teammate. It was lots of fun. I think anyone who played with them is happy they did.
Oh, the irony that you're normally the first one to fight and then the first one to leave when shit hit the fan. That's always great to hear, Rosie.
Fight or flight.
Yeah, exactly. I love Hartsey too, known for his farts, known for Hartnell down. He always seemed to be down on the ice for some reason, but man, that guy played with so much passion. Loved him, especially as a member of the Philadelphia Flyers. The wrap-up is brought to you by our friends at PointsBet Canada. I am fired up on this Thursday. First and foremost, we got the puck line. We got the job done. Toronto and Philadelphia on Wednesday. And number two, the introduction of shot props on PointsBet Canada. And that's where I'm going today. Mika Zibanejad playing the Boston Bruins. I like Zibanejad to have over 3.5 shots on goal in this game. You're looking at plus 120 in value. And here are the statistics. I know you love them, Rosie. He's cleared that number in 6 straight games. He has 28 shots on goal in his last 6. So take the over 3.5 shots on goal for Mika Zibanejad.
Yeah, how is that plus money, man? I love that. That guy's a shooting machine, and the points even say towards that, and the value you're getting on your plus money is pretty awesome. So pretty wicked that PointsBet's got the shooting props right now. All these different outfits, you never know who's got what, but it's nice to see this PointsBet Canada starting to really put out the high volume bets where you can kind of go with whatever your gut is that night and find yourself a cool bet. So I love that. I'm going to take that too. I can't believe that it's only at 3.5 and it's plus money. And like you said, there's no reason it should be that low. Maybe we caught Vegas on a sleeper here, but nonetheless, you got yourself the puck line last night, low stress puck line. That's hard to do. So you're back on track after, I think you only missed 2, right? So rock it all, man. I'm bound your train.
Well, dude, I was losing my shit after Philadelphia scored the first goal. I'm like, no, this we're not doing the Arizona game all over again, but got things in line, even though it was 3-1, then it was 3-2. Owen Tippett, by the way, I watched a ton of his games. My buddy coached in the Ontario Hockey League for Mississauga for plenty of years, all of the tenure of Owen Tippett. I've seen that snipe time and time again. So I was like, no, here we go again. But they got the job done, and that's why I'm loving John Tavares today. As mentioned off the top, Rosie, we are getting interactive on the show via YouTube. Tim writes in, JT's best game in a long time. He came into this year in good shape and the right frame of mind. And he's also damn happy about Ilya Samsonov. That's a prevailing story. Again, not to bang an old drum, but where would this Leafs team be without Ilya Samsonov? He's won 5 of 7 appearances to start the season. And I'm not sure if you saw this, that Matt Murray guy's starting to skate again. That's always positive news.
Yeah, he'll be a good backup for Sammy when he gets back, maybe. But no, I mean, that was a big question mark coming into this season. And my biggest thing was, I know that it didn't work out in Washington, but we don't know what was going on there. It was the COVID seasons, remember. That whole thing was a goddamn gong show for those players, especially goalies, where your head is at means everything. And I love taking a flyer on him. And I love that there was twice the potential to get Murray's game back on track. And then you also got this first rounder in Sammy. And obviously things haven't gone great for Murray. Hopefully he can stay healthy. But I've just loved Sammy from the get-go. He has just been solid and square and reliable. I mean, look at the opening shift of the third period last night. Somehow there's just a flat-out breakaway from the bottom of the face-off circle. And the guy's I mean, Sammy's cold. He's just been sitting in his stall, and there's a full-on breakaway, and he does the absolute splits to have a huge save on that play. And it was not the only one of the night. So I'm loving Sammy. He just seems rock solid. The market doesn't seem to bother him. I just like the way he's standing in there. And I hate to say, but I've been with him since the get-go. So I've been a Sammy fan from day one. And I hope he keeps it going so that you don't prove me wrong.
Yeah, I can't even tell you that I even know what his voice sounds like. And that's good news, right? I don't want to hear from the goalies. I want to see their production on the ice. And so far, so good, because it's certainly a position of high scrutiny, certainly in this market. And I can't remember the last time, too, as you mentioned, third period starts, seconds in. I know the Flyers were on a power play, but they had a 2-on-1 with two defensemen. I think it was D'Angelo and Provorov. I just don't know how that happens. But nonetheless, Samsonov makes the big save. What did you make of the Boo Birds coming out last night for Justin Holl? I think it was only inevitable that was going to take place, no?
Yeah, it's, he's been struggling, and, there's something to him that can make him a quality player. Sometimes he does some things where you're like, there's some solidness that we're seeing about him, but to be honest, he just has kind of had a nightmare start. It's a lot of his problems and a lot of his mistakes have ended up in the back of the net. And a lot of the time it's at key points in the season, but obviously he's kind of got the trust. I don't want to say trust, but he's got, the support of Sheldon Keefe, and he keeps putting him in there. And I think he's going to get more and more chances as it goes. And if he gets pulled out one night or not, I just think that he's kind of there to stay right now as far as being a guy you're going to see every night. But I think he'd be a good guy that could get packaged up in a deal maybe and get sent out, especially once we get Liljegren back and some of these bodies start getting healthy. But I guess time will tell. We'll see where it goes. What's your thoughts on him last night and what's been going on? Are you seeing anything different out of him?
No, I especially in the first half of that game, just the mishaps, and you could tell the frustrations around him. And again, same old story. Mitch Marner was frustrated, and I get it, but I wouldn't show up your teammates first and foremost. I think everybody knows the guy's battling, and I think ultimately it comes down to the coach. It comes down to management, and they got to figure out what to do here, because he hasn't been a serviceable player. And I don't care. I don't want to talk about the numbers. My eye test suggests Justin Holl's had a terrible, terrible start to this season. And again, I'm not here to rip on the guy. I just think it would benefit him to maybe sit in the press box for a couple games, gather his thoughts, and come back stronger, or do something else. Maybe you trade him. I just think at this point, we know what Justin Holl is in Toronto. And don't forget, it sounds like Timothy Liljegren is eligible to come back on Saturday, albeit I think he's going to spell in for Victor Mete. I think they're really, really high on Justin Holl, and they're going to give him a lot of chances to flourish. Again, knowing that relationship with the head coach, the GM back from the American Hockey League and the Toronto Marlies. So coming up tomorrow, I should mention the schedule. Rosie will be gone tomorrow and Monday, but we do have 3 hits with Rosie coming back tomorrow and Monday, and back-to-back for the Leafs this weekend. They're home to Boston on Saturday, at Carolina on Sunday. I'll also mention joining me tomorrow is the one and only Jackie Redmond of the NHL Network and WWE. So big-time Leafs fan. We'll get her thoughts, her perspective on the season thus far. But 3 hits with Rosie. I can't wait for this tomorrow, Rosie.
Yeah, we'll see what we got going on. I'll pull up a few points that I think need to be touched on and maybe go for a rant for a while there. I'm going to try to stay away from what the hell is Justin Holl doing on the ice with 3 minutes left in a 1-goal game, because every time I see a big mistake and it's him, I cannot believe he's on the goddamn ice. But try to pick some other hits right now for to mix up some topics. But yeah, I'll be off for a little bit, but put my piece in. And obviously a huge weekend for this franchise, man. Those are 2 big boy teams, and I love that they're back on track with a little bit of confidence and they got a win under their belt. So, man, it would be an incredible weekend if we could, dare I say, get 4 points out of it. Wow, that would be something else.
You never know. Excellent stuff as per usual. And again, we'll talk on Tuesday. Remember to subscribe, smash that like button, leave us a review. Visit theleafsnation.com for the very latest happening in Leafs Nation. Be back with you on Friday. Take care. Have a good Thursday.